यह ज्ञान की दुनिया, यहाँ दुनिया का ज्ञान, कृषि विज्ञान और अनुसंधान, नए क्षितिज अब छू रही शिक्षा, ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई संग लग रही कक्षा।
This is the panel discussion 4 of ICBLE 2023, where we are talking of digital transformation in education. So now I would be calling the moderators and the panelists of this panel. First of all, I would like to welcome and request the co-chair of the session, Dr. Udham Singh Gautam, DDG Agriculture Extension, ICAR, New Delhi; Dr. Triveni Dutt, Vice Chancellor and Director, ICAR, Indian Veterinary Research Institute, IVRI, Bareilly. I request the moderator of the session, Mr. Vikas Agrawal, Partner Consulting, EY LLP, New Delhi. I would also call upon my rapporteurs for the session, Dr. Sanchita and Ms. Madhu. So this is a panel discussion where we are talking of digital transformation in education sector. We all know that it is necessary to build a competitive advantage in the agriculture education, and digital transformation is the way to it. It ensures quality education by playing an eminent role as an integrated platform to channelize the educating and learning resources. For this, our panelists are Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Director, ICAR, IASRI. Dr. Rajendra Prasad is presently serving as Director, ICAR, IASRI. His research interests include agricultural statistics, design of experiments, and sampling techniques. Besides receiving numerous awards and recognitions, he has received the Recognition Award 2015-16, the Young Scientist Award 1999-2000, and the NAS Associate Award 2007-2010. Welcome, Dr. Prasad. Our next panelist is Mr. Warner Buscher. Welcome, Dr. Warner. He is the former Secretary General, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Environment, Forestry and Water Management, Austria. Mr. Warner is a member of the board of RESPACT, the Austrian Business Council of Sustainable Development. He also works as consultant and business angel in the startup area. Buscher counts interesting startups around the world and serves as a facilitator for startup ventures. As an angel investor, he focuses on e-commerce and retail. He also serves as director on different boards in Austria, Mumbai, and Amman. Mr. Vikas Kanungo, who is the Senior Digital Development Specialist, the World Bank, is a recognized leader in the field of digital development and IR 4.0 digital strategies with over 30 years of experience. Welcome, Mr. Vikas. Mr. Gaurav Gupta, our next panelist, is the Chief Growth Officer, X-Step Foundation, India. Mr. Gaurav Gupta is EdTech CXO, growth hacker, population scale problem solver, CXO influencer, business and P&L leader with 20 plus years of experience. He has played many roles during his tenure of being an investor, mentor, problem solver, growth hacker, and consultant to diverse businesses across industries and geographies to help them solve their problems and grow their businesses to population scale. He has primarily been a startup guy who has worked at many startups and seen them through their growth journey. Welcome, Mr. Gaurav. Our next panelist is Mr. Poorna Gunashekhar. He is Associate Dean International, Peninsula Medical School, University of Plymouth, the UK. He is a co-lead of Overseas Student Support Mentor, Academic and Pastoral Tutor at University of Plymouth, United Kingdom. He has been working on immediate relevance of blending learning for the Sustainable Development Goals and the emerging specialty of planetary health. He has been delivering presentations on blended learning at several international virtual conferences like the 7th Innovative Learning Spaces Summit held in Amsterdam in September 2022. The last panelist of this panel discussion is Mr. Balakrishnan Prithviraj, who would be joining us online. He has joined this panel discussion. Welcome, Dr. Balakrishnan. Thank you for joining here. He is the Associate Vice President Global Relations at Dalhousie University, Halifax, Canada. He is a part of senior leadership team of Dalhousie University since 2020. He has published more than 140 peer-reviewed publications and has 5 patents to his name. Some of his patents are now commercialized with products in the marketplace. His group was the first to work and publish on the mechanisms of action of seaweed biostimulants and has significantly contributed to this field of research. So now this panel discussion is to start, and we all request you to kindly be very interactive in this deliberation. I now hand over the stage to our moderator, Mr. Vikas Agrawal.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, namaskar everyone. Before I start, I must thank ICBLE for inviting me to join this eminent panel. I think it's a very interesting mix of leaders that we have on board today. So we are very illustrious co-chairs to the panel. As part of our panelists, we have 3 people from academic background, people who have been into it, have been teaching and have moved to leadership positions. We also have Dr. Warner, who has been into both public and private domain and carries experience around that. We have with us Gaurav, Vikas, who have been part of technology journey in the country and outside the country in multiple formats. And we have, I believe, a very fair amount of mix of both Indian and global experience. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to ensure we gain benefit from each of the luminaries that we have on the panel. We shall invite views both from Indian context and global context, and we'll try to keep it very short and sweet, like keeping in mind that we are a panel which is talking about digital in education. So digital is about being precise, digital is about being short. So we'll make it precise and short, and we'll try not to go haywire here and there. But before I start, before I invite views from our panelists, I think the topic is very interesting, digital transformation education. To my mind, we could have replaced education with anything. Digital transformation is here to stay. And as the moderator in the last session, when he was concluding, he said that there's no doubt about it, there's no question about it. Digital transformation is here, and there's no discussion around it. It's about how do we go about it, what are the tenets, what is the experience, how would people embrace it, how do we look at what kind of challenges it's going to throw. Challenges not from technology perspective, because I believe technology is still very easy. It's more about is technology affordable or not affordable, but beyond that it's pretty easy. It's more about us as humans, how do we absorb that technology, how do we use that. So a couple of things that come to my mind. One, I'm missing the name of a professor, I think from MIT Sloan. He said digital transformation, if undertaken the right way, is like a caterpillar which blossoms out into a beautiful butterfly. But if it goes wrong, it's just a caterpillar which has gone fast. The butterfly is not there, end of the journey. Second, something let me borrow from the very historical poem from Coleridge, where he said, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So I think that's the scenario today. On one part, we have digital, we have technology everywhere, but there are people amongst us who feel lost. They believe there's a lot of technology around, but which one should I pick? Is this something actually meant for me, or is it not meant for me? So these kind of questions around, these kind of scenarios around. Let me start our journey more from a global perspective. Let me invite Dr. Balakrishna Prithviraj, and let me invite his views. In his experience, the way he has seen things in Canada and other places in the world, what are the challenges and opportunity of digital transformation, specifically in education scenario? Education, the way it's being delivered traditionally, the classroom, contact courses, correspondence courses, remote learning, how does it come together in digital world? Is digital merely about putting some screens? Is it merely about emails? Is it merely about a learning management system? Or does it go deeper than that? And if it goes deeper than that, what challenges exist over there? And what are the opportunities that are there for us to explore? Dr. Balakrishnan.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Vikash, for inviting me into this panel. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my views. And I also want to apologize that I'm not there in person. I wish I could be there, but unfortunately I'm in India, but I'm not in Delhi at the moment. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and sorry for not being in person. As Vikash alluded to, now I'm going to be very terse in my initial comments, and then probably I can come in later with other distinguished panel members for furthering this discussion. So actually, I'll actually speak about my experience about the use of digital technologies pretty recently, and actually this technology is actually we started using it much more during the COVID, and actually that's one of the positive impact of COVID that we had. So I'm going to speak in the perspective of the internationalization of the curriculum using digital platforms. And especially in agriculture, where we can make a huge difference for our students and the future leaders in the agriculture space. So I see that using this technology and developing some new curriculum, which could be global in nature, and I see that ICR already initiated some repository of curriculum and courses and so on and other contents online. But I am looking at the opportunity much broader, wherein we can bring universities from across the globe in delivering agriculture curriculum. So this is not just an abstract thing. It is actually real in the sense because agriculture is global. While the agriculture is practiced differently in different parts of the world, but when you look at the challenges, it's the same that every farmer faces around the world. For example, the effect of the climate change in agriculture. It's the same in India and same in Canada as well. Almost the same. I'm struck by the commonality that we have. And then the water is another big issue, water resource issues. Labor issues is not typical of India. In Canada, same problem. And I'm sure, in other parts of the world also we have the same issues. And marketing of agricultural produce, again, the same issues. So when you look at the nature of the issues that is being faced in the agriculture sector across the globe, it's almost the same. So why not we come together, and especially I'm calling upon the statutory bodies and the accreditation bodies across the globe, where we can make the curriculum common. So students start a year in India, they go to Europe, get another year, go to the North America, get another year, and graduate from a different university. So that's the type of seamless opportunity that we have to create for the future leaders, and that I think that's it's a challenge, but I see it's a great opportunity. We are already trying to do something in this regard between Canada and India, actually facilitated through the Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute. So I see that as an opportunity, and I would request colleagues in the panel and as well as across in the audience as well as to think about how we can actually create this opportunity for our students, bringing them and developing curriculum which is relevant across the board, and recognition of the curriculum between countries. I think that I see is a great opportunity. So I will stop here. I have a few more points, and then I will pitch in as the opportunity arises. Thank you, Vikas, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Balakrishnan. You touched upon two very interesting and very, I'll say, relevant pointers. One is about curriculum and content. That as we talk about digital, curriculum and content become very important. What kind of content curriculum we are going to talk about, how it's actually going to be disseminated. Second, I think I liked when you said seamless opportunity. Digital is about removing boundaries, transcending across boundaries. So how digital in education can create a seamless opportunity across institutions, across countries, across regions. And let me there invite Indian experience from Gaurav. This is what XTEP has been doing, trying to talk about curriculum transformation, content, how various content can come together, the aspect of collaboration which you talked about, Dr. Balakrishnan, how can people collaborate in India, especially from the school education perspective, and how could those lessons actually be used in higher education also? Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you, Vikas. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the question. I think very pertinent, very relevant, because I think as digital is becoming a part of all of our lives, so it is across different sectors. And in that context, when it especially comes to school education in the country, and I'm talking from the experience of having worked with the government in the context of Diksha, as a school education platform, which is government-backed and it works at the scale of the nation. I think a few learnings, I'll just point out, the main ones in this context. One, like Dr. Balakrishnan was also saying, while there are challenges, the challenges are common in nature, right? What are some of these challenges in the context of school education? Number one challenge is access to good quality material around learning and around teaching, which can help the children. Now, how do you make things more accessible so that you can make it equitably available to anybody and everybody in the country? And one of the learnings that we have had in this space was that when you leverage something which is abundantly available, which is something like textbooks, which every child in the country has access to, which every teacher in the country refers to while teaching in the classrooms. So just a simple act of placing QR codes on every chapter ensured that you've created a bridge between the physical world on textbooks, which is available to everyone, and the digital world, via which you could improve access to good quality learning and teaching material, which becomes available to every single child in the country. And I think India has had the good fortune of smartphone and internet penetration cutting through the nooks and the corners of the country, which now means that majority of Indians, whether it's students in the classroom or students even at home, they now get access to something like this. Teachers, by the way, across the country, and again from experience, we can say that almost all of them have access to smartphones and to internet. So just by putting a QR code on the textbooks and linking it to content which is digital in nature meant that everyone had access to a learning opportunity or a better way of explaining something in that context. Another learning, and touching upon the aspect that Vikas spoke about as, how does it really bring about a change in the curriculum? I think change in the curriculum is linked to the policy change in itself, right? And very recently, in the context of education in the country, we've seen the launch of the new education policy in 2020. It emphasizes upon the need of building skills in children so that they become equipped to do well in life. Skills which are not just about a competence in subject, which is of course necessary, but also life skills which help them in different walks of life. Now that in itself calls for a change in the way the curriculum is designed and the way the curriculum gets delivered in the classrooms across the country. And in that context, the National Curriculum Framework and a committee around that has been working over the last year or so in terms of making an effort to see how, based on the policy, the change in the curriculum can be brought about. And that is now manifesting, it has begun to manifest in the form of how textbooks in the country can change, and then accordingly, how digital content, which can aid that change in the curriculum, can be improvised. So that is the second key aspect that we see, that how policy becomes a key lever to influence to set the direction, which in turn brings about a change in the way you design the curriculum and the framework, which in turn impacts what you do in the context of the content around that and how digital helps in this particular aspect. There's a third thing, because Vikas also asked me to touch upon the aspect of collaboration. I don't think there is any dearth of talent in the country which can produce good quality content. Right from individuals, and individuals can be teachers to students in senior grades, to even working professionals, to people in different walks of life. Talent is there in terms of being able to produce good quality content in terms of what can be helpful for students. And we have seen government leverage that, along with leveraging the help of even social sector and private sector organizations under a program named Vidya Dan. And the whole aspect about Vidya Dan was that if you have the capabilities, if you have the skills, why don't you come together in this journey to collaborate and offer your skills by helping us create content which can now help students in the country or teachers in the country in terms of the learning and the teaching that they do. So that's a third key learning. I mean, I can go on and on in terms of learnings, but probably I'll stop here in terms of some of the experiences that we've had.
Thanks, Gaurav. Thank you. Very interesting. And I think the key takeaway, and most of us who actually have experienced Diksha firsthand would agree with Gaurav. And if I may translate what Gaurav said, to bring digital into transformation, we don't need huge platforms or we don't need any algorithm. For the users, a simple act of having a QR code which takes them to a better content and to a complementary content starts the journey of digitalization over there. So very precise, and I agree, policy has to be there, because if we try to bring in some changes, unless there's a policy support for that, unless policy recognizes what changes are happening in our day-to-day lives, how things are going to transform, policy has to recognize that, and policy has to enable that. And of course, the aspect which you touched upon, Gaurav, in terms of what skills are we building up, digital skills. And this is where I'm tempted to invite Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Sir, in your opinion, what kind of digital skills are required to be imparted to students who are pursuing education in agriculture fields so that they are able to blend into this world much more better? They're able to take advantage of what Dr. Balkrishnan said, collaboration, new content, transformative content, and they're able to go out in the world and be truly create a name for themselves. So what's the skill gap today, you think, and how do we enable that skills?
Thank you, Vikas. I will not be taking directly your question. I will be sharing only some random thoughts and touch upon the question raised by you. But let me begin with this conference. Itself is a blending of several thoughts. We started on March 21st. That was a World Forestry Day. Yesterday was the World Water Day, and today is World Meteorology Day. Therefore, all aspects which are important for agriculture have been there in all these 3 days for this conference. These days have been very auspicious for the Indian mythology. Yesterday we had our Hindu New Year, and sheer coincidence and a good coincidence that both Vikramini Samvat and Sak Samvat came on the same day after so many years. Third, blended learning, we want to reach to equity, and we started the conference on Equinox Day. That is March 21. Since beginning, it has been discussed that only reliable constant is change, and change we must. But all of us know that change is difficult. And only that is challenge is change, how to change, and what should the strategy for change. And if we can work on that, everything can be taken care of. Today we are talking blended learning. Blended learning is not a very new concept. This has been there since the ages, since we lived in caves. At that time, blended learning was in the form of the pictures on the caves, and students or the children in the house were asked how to hunt. Therefore, that was a simulation exercise taken place. Even Gita Updesh, which was given 5,000 years ago, has been a very good example of blended learning. Bhagwan Krishna was giving the preachings to the Arjuna, but he was not believing. Finally, he simulated and showed him the whole of the globe, world, Brahman, and that's how we believed. That was the simulation done through blending. And that's how we proceeded. In today's age, we can say that blending learning started in 1998. Blended learning and e-learning as a whole has been rapid change in the past. It is a union of face-to-face interaction and technology-based learning. It is something not new. Blending has to be there, and we all know that there is a nature and technology mix. Even if we today see the park and skyscrapers with green grass on the roof and walls, that's the blended learning. In the first few sessions on the first day, it has been talked about that blended learning for all stakeholders, not only for the teachers, not only for the students, parents, it includes entrepreneurs, it includes farmers, it includes public at large. Therefore, I would like to say a few steps that Indian Council of Agriculture Research has taken towards the farmer education. In presence of the Honorable Chair, it is an extension that a lot of mobile apps are available. A aggregator mobile app with interface in 12 Indian languages has been created with Kisan 2.0. And out of that, several mobile apps are there from the institute, from our another co-chair, Dr. Tarunidhaji. Then we are reaching out to the farmers with two-way exchange of technology through KVK portal, Krishi Vigyan Kendra portal. We have more than 750 in the country. That's how we are reaching to them and blending the technology along with the presence of our subject matter experts at each of the districts through KVK portal, and now we have started Kisan Sarthi. Then making the data available at one place. In the morning session, there was a presentation where we had been talking about the data is the first requirement for any blended learning. And ICR has already created a ICR research data repository in the form of Krishi portal, and that has been recognized by Ministry of Information and Technology in the form of Gold Icon Award to the ICR for that initiative. Blending the AR/VR facility for the agricultural education, AR/VR facility and virtual classrooms have been created in all the 74 universities. Now the challenge is to make use of them, effective use of them. As a catalyst, 14 different modules, augmented reality and virtual reality modules have already been created, which includes tractor simulation, which you might have seen outside, artificial insemination, paddy straw collection and cum chopper, hydroponics, phenomics, and many more. Reaching out to the farmers again, it has been talked about that it should not be very difficult, a simple methodology. Therefore, taking artificial intelligence to the farmers, we have developed an artificial intelligence disease identification system for crops. Through a mobile app, farmer has to only take a photograph, and finally it will be churned at our cloud, and finally result goes to the farmer within seconds. Therefore, this identifies at present 40 diseases of 20 crops, and we are taking it forward. Therefore, the basic aspect of effective blended learning is sensitizing the leadership, and that we are doing through this conference. All leaders of the agricultural university's teaching system from the agriculture education have been brought together, and that through the informal discussions, my colleagues from different universities had been sharing that their expectations from this conference were that how to implement blended learning at their teaching level. That will come at the second stage. The first step was that we have sensitization, we have the policy framework, and then comes the capacity building of teachers for making interactive contents, engaging activities, and then capacity building of students. In the capacity building of students, if we remember the morning lectures, whatever material we give, whatever flexibility, accessibility of contents we provide, first step is interaction between the teacher and the taught, but that does not suffice. There has to be an interaction among the students. Therefore, through blended learning, we need to create some group exercises, simulated, and so that all stakeholders can talk together and proceed further. A lot of technologies are available, as has already been said by the Vikas, but the issue is how to connect them. Therefore, interoperability will be the key for seamless flow of information across these platforms for engagement. Therefore, I would like to conclude by saying all knowledge is connected to other knowledge. The fun is in making connections. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. And I think you cited a beautiful example in terms of AR, VR from Mahabharata times to what ICBLE is doing today. A very effective use of technology in terms of blended learning. And here I would like to invite Vikas. This is your experience, Vikas, in multiple domains. As part of bank and prior to that, you've been working in technology scene in the country. How do you see technology can be used more effectively? And especially picking up the elements which Dr. Prasad talked about, sensitization, capacity building, collaboration, interaction. What is it about and how do we enable that in a much more effective manner?
Okay, thank you so much, Vikas. And as you rightly said, I have been working in multiple domains. Agriculture happens to be one. So in education also. So when you are basically talking about use of technologies, as Dr. Prasad rightly said, that blended learning as an aim, to provide multiple tools both to the teachers and students have been there since ages. The only thing that changes is the means by which you do it. So those means, since the time you said Mahabharata or Stone Age, those means have been changing continuously. In terms of technologies, we started with Industrial Revolution 1, and today we are at IR 4.0. In agriculture, we started with the Agriculture Revolution 1, and we are at the Agriculture Revolution 3. At all these times, the goal has been the same in terms of the learning environment, providing better tools to the students and teachers. The biggest thing since the tools keep on changing and becoming more effective, so I think the first prerequisite I see for making blended learning to be as per the times and the means available today, the biggest prerequisite is unlearning. Even though blended learning would have been there since 90s, but the tools we were using in 90s, they are not very effective today. They are obsolete now. And we have new tools available, be it artificial intelligence or say, for example, I must say this, I'll take one more minute, that last 3 days I have been hearing every third speaker talking about ChatGPT, right? Most of us have been also calling it by different names, GTB, PGT, and other things. But the fact is that, this is a new tool which has come, which rather than looking at it, whether it will replace what we are doing as educators or learners, or will it, threaten the existing system of education, what we have to see is that how do I use this tool? Like most of you, you're talking about whether it will give you a fake news, somebody said in the first session. Now, do we know that ChatGPT does not search internet while giving answers to you? It has a predefined database whose deadline is September 2021. So after that, whatever has come on internet, it doesn't look at that. It only looks at its own databases. So saying that it'll, spread fake news would actually mean that we have not even looked at the tool or used it, but we're commenting on that. Second thing, I think, in terms of, I was to look at only this as a tool, this could be extremely useful for people with disabilities or who want to, personalize learning for them or have additional information. Similarly, for professors, this could be an excellent tool on, maybe customizing what they're teaching based upon the kind of students they have. So what I would like to say is that, we will have to first challenge our own patterns, which we have been following for years, and be ready to unlearn before we can create a successful learning system. And, technologies, whether AI, ChatGPT maybe will look like Stone Age in 3 years, the way technology is progressing. So let us look at what we want to achieve in terms of blended learning environment and as a goal, and then decide what are the means available, be them physical or digital or, blended. So that is what I would like to see, that, let's not do it digital versus classroom. Let's focus on the goal of providing good teaching and learning experiences, and then look at what are the means. And, finally, in this debate of digital versus physical, we nowadays call it cyber-physical integration, which is inevitable. I would say let machines do what they do best, and let humans do what they do best. And based on that, you create a strategy. I think it'll be a win-win. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vikas. And I think I couldn't agree more. It's not about digital versus physical. It's not about digital. It's about what our objective is and whatever helps us in reaching the objective. And also, of course, it's very important to unlearn or to bid farewell to antiquated concepts which no longer serve our objective. Embrace the new, but at the same time, one must know how to use that new. Just embracing new will not help us. So I agree. And this is where I'm tempted to invite Mr. Warner. Basis experience both in public life and in private life, as an investor, as a someone supporting the industry. How do you think technology can be used, better utilized for agriculture research and teaching? And a further corollary to that, how do we really enable teaching over there? What is it that teachers would need? What kind of assistance, what kind of support would be required when planning for lessons, when actually using technology to impart a better agriculture education?
Thank you so much for this question, and also thank you so much for having me. I really would like to follow my previous speaker, because I think this is absolutely important. Because permanently, on the one hand, we do underestimate the readiness of students, I think. Yeah? How many students are here, by the way? Are there any? Oh yeah, there are some guys. And so I think especially if we speak about skills, as some other previous speakers spoke before, and I think that the readiness, especially you said that India has one of the highest smartphone and mobile penetration in the world, that there is a readiness of students we permanently underestimate. And I think we can harvest this and use this if our tools, and this is part of my answer, are taking this more into account. So, there are a lot of possibilities of gamification and other possibilities where we could reach out to students which we normally don't reach. So I think this is very, very important. This is going in the direction of this unlearning our traditional knowledge and coming up with new proposals. The next point I would like to make is I think it's very important that we not only speak about teachers and students, but also about faculty. And as I said, I'm also the president of a university council, so I'm allowed to do this. I think we also have to train a lot faculty. And I see in Europe, in Scandinavian countries, but also in UK and in other parts, that there are also trainings for the faculty. And now we should discuss what are trained. It's a lot about entrepreneurial skills and leadership. And I also would like to come back to your presentation in the morning. I think we can use entrepreneurial and leadership skills to change the culture at university. And why is entrepreneurial leadership and skills are so important? I think it has to do with a lot of these future skills we also discussed. It's about taking decision in uncertainty, able to really deal with complexity and nonlinear thinking, which are very, very important. And to be honest, and this is very true also for Europe, faculty is sometimes not ready to do this. And as long as this is not happening, it will be very difficult to teach. Otherwise, I think, it's a contradiction per se. This is the first point I wanted to make, so I really would like to second my previous speaker who said that we have to unlearn, and I think also it has a lot to do with culture. It's a total different culture if you now look to the youngsters, Generation Z, whatever. They really learn in a different way. It's not longer I have learned where I was tested if I had done my books and stuff like that. You can ask Mr. Google. It's really a total different approach. I'm able to solve problems and come up with new innovative solutions. This is the first part. Second part, I think, what is very, very important is also peer-to-peer learning. I also teach in some classes where we work with academic founders, and I see that students are able to learn from colleagues who are a little bit ahead, much more than from Elon Musk and other great heroes. It's very important that we really foster and find possibilities and solutions how we can foster this peer-to-peer learning where they are able to learn from from other colleagues. And then I think it's much more easier for them to accept this. But we really underestimate many times the readiness of our students, and I think we should build on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for highlighting the very, very important aspect. There is no shortcut to it, but to train the faculty, because the faculty is not fully trained into how to effectively use the new age technologies, the new age tools, and how to blend the traditional, the new age. I think it's going to be a massive failure for all of us. So I fully agree. And of course, extremely important to bring students on board, to reach out to them. Having reached out to them, how do you keep them engaged? And peer-to-peer learning could be a great move to actually make them learn from each other, to inspire each other. So thanks for that. And here I would like to invite Dr. Purna Gunashekhara. Based on your experience, what do you think goes into building such a system wherein education is supported by technology, and going forward, this support of technology to education, transformation leads towards attainment of SDGs, the way SDGs are defined today. So I'm moving from technology to education to ultimate objective of plugging into our SDGs. So would like to invite your views on that.
Thanks so much. Dr. Prasad highlighted the importance of the word, the interface, where we have on the one hand the human, we have technology and the content. And all three are progressing at a space. And and as you very correctly said, blending of learning has happened historically. But the internet was born only in 1983. And as on the first day, Dr. Chadrach of the Commonwealth Education Media Center said, India created a blended learning platform in 1987, just 4 years after the creation of the internet. So why are we still discussing this? And quite correctly, as you said, it's not just a matter of the students being not digitally literate, it's all of us being digitally illiterate. It is because digitization of education happened progressively, as education always does, but it got a turbo boost due to COVID. And our experience, I come from a medical school, but my specialty, I initially was an eye surgeon, but now it's global health. And that is why, and that global health includes agriculture and planetary health. And through that, what we have come to realize is that when COVID hit, our medical school already had self-selected components amounting to 25% of the course. So 25% of what the student learned in the name of medicine was their choosing. So we had a digital platform. And that digital platform allowed them to get content from sources that were not sometimes commonly available. And then we would discuss the content. at face-to-face meetings. And yet, when COVID hit, what we found was we had to use that same platform in order to literally cut and paste all our teachings into that platform. And that platform was not designed for that purpose. On the one hand, we have several layers that are put together due to the general data protection regulations that we have to have confidentiality. But on the other hand, there is freedom of information. So what we found in this process was, as was very correctly said by two speakers already, that we have platforms that are not fit for purpose. So we have to progressively evolve together. And in that process of progressing, you have asked a very important question about the Sustainable Development Goals. And that to me is really important, because whatever we do has to be governed by those common sets of values that are expounded in the Sustainable Development Goals. And I was really very pleasantly surprised when Dr. Shamsi of the World Bank outlined that social cohesion and regional development are very much part of the World Bank's priorities. And that shows that these goals have permeated through the society. And therefore, we must ensure that whatever we do in the name of education feeds into those Sustainable Development Goals and the founding principles, where they said, leave no one behind and to reach those furthest behind first. But when it comes to this particular forum and the situation in India per se, the Sustainable Development Goal 5, if we were to look at gender equity, one of the things I learned at this conference was by Dr. Nicolau, who showed a map of different countries, and only 40% of the rich families' children and just 5% of the poor families' children go to tertiary education in India. Then I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Tiwari from the International Rice Research Institute. He said only 7% of female population contributes to agricultural learning in India. So that is an area where we can actually develop. And I was so thrilled when Dr. Sudeep of NAHEP said that one of the founding principles of NAHEP was access to all. And that, that opportunity is there. And then again, the Sustainable Development Goal number 10, which talks of reducing inequality within and between countries. But there is massive inequality here. Not only, if we talk in human terms, there are more than 100 million people who have been forcefully displaced from the world. In a world of 8 billion people, that's a huge amount of people. But that's a global context. Within our local context, we not only have people who have been displaced, but we have marginalized people. People who have not had an opportunity to have their voices heard. And one thing that digitalization does is literally give the possibility for a microphone to be given to these hidden voices. The hidden voices that was spoken by Dr. Silas at his first presentation. We can do that. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that our content and the platform on which that content is delivered moves with our values. And it is the value content that we are that makes such a big difference. And I'm so glad that this conference, this is something I spoke of before too, this conference is not talking of a platform, it's talking of an entire ecosystem. And ecosystems are about values. If we were to develop this platform or whatever technology with the content, but driven by core values that uphold the value of every single human being, then we will get there, and Sustainable Development Goals will happen.
Thank you so much. Very powerful thoughts, I must say, and I think a very, very important aspect that our platforms need to be designed and involved, not only to cater to those who are in ecosystem today, but to those who are not in that ecosystem, probably out of sight. They are not hidden somewhere, but they are necessarily a part of the ecosystem. But so far, they have not been able to onboard that bandwagon. And of course, if the platform can address access and equity, I think the real fun lies in that. This is where the digital platform should actually enable, going beyond the gimmickry of it. So thank you so much. And given the time we have, may I invite just half a minute to 1 minute last view from each panelist, starting with Dr. Balkrishna. So this is what we just discussed. Any last thoughts you have, any last views you have? Sorry, but 30 to 60 seconds only.
Thank you, Vikash. I want to touch upon again on the same aspect of internationalization using the digital the access that we have at the moment. I think that holds a tremendous potential for bringing universities and other stakeholders in this space. So that's my final thought, and I would also encourage, as earlier I mentioned, like developing curriculum that is relevant across the globe. So I think we are in the crossroads. There's a tremendous potential for us to train the future leaders. Thank you, Vikash.
Thank you. Dr. Prasad?
I would only like to say that what we have to do is strategically plan for a cultural shift. We have to use blended learning for better interactive engagement of the stakeholders and not as a drunk use as a lamppost for sport rather than illumination. I would like to conclude by saying, let's explore, interact, collaborate, align with interoperability of different platforms, plan for sustainability, both for technology upgrades and human and financial requirements. Thank you.
Mr. Warner?
I would like to highlight how important it is, especially from the governance side, to regulate data protection and how we share data, because I think it's very, very important. And I totally second my friend Borna, who said it's about an ecosystem and common core values, but we also need a structure. And therefore, it's very important that we have clear rules how protect, how we share the access to data, but also how we share data is very, very important. And especially also when we speak about IE, we also have to discuss about fair IE. You know that there is a lot of blind spots and biases also in artificial intelligence. And so also to have this aspect is very, very important. My impression is that, and I'm an entrepreneur now, but maybe you're surprised, I think that the public side and governance is missing to regulate. Today we discussed a lot with GPT, but also BART was announced yesterday, and the legislator is way behind. And I think maybe it's also necessary to have here clear rules to set a level playing field. Thank you.
Gaurav?
Right. I think I really liked what everyone said. So in my head, the summary is that we need to make progress with purpose. And that purpose which helps us look at the future, not at the past. And for that, we must unlearn. And as we unlearn, we must also engage the ecosystem, right? Because technology has always been there from the past to what it is today, to what it will be in the future. But I think if we are looking at making progress with purpose and trying to look at the future, we will end up achieving what we want to achieve, provided we leverage the ecosystem, provided we are unlearning and learning what needs to be done for the future. Thank you.
Dr. Gunasekara?
First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's what I have seen throughout this process is simply transformational, and I'm really impressed by the passion and the optimism of the people of India. It's in direct contrast to what I feel in my home country of Sri Lanka at the moment, and that is rather emotive. But I hope, as we have already discussed, this is a global problem, and therefore we are discussing something that hasn't been solved by anybody. And if there's any one country that can do it, it is India, because you are digital champions, and you have this unique biodiversity. If, just yesterday's cultural show showed this unique variety that India brings, and I hope you will be able to use this digital transformation into transformational digitization, and that we will be able to progress, ensuring that every part of our community come along with us. And I hope that this conference becomes an annual conference, and we would hear the voices of the students, because I've had the opportunity to speak with the few students, and I'm absolutely amazed how far ahead they are in this subject than we are. And I'm really hopeful that India will become the champion of diversity and indigenization through this process of digitization.
Because
Thank you so much. I think I'll like to take my thoughts, which I earlier said, that we're not building physical or digital platforms. We're building an ecosystem. And I think in terms of readiness, as you rightly said, the generation for whom we are building these ecosystem are IR 4.0 people, right? They are using chat GPTs, they are using smart apps, etc. But the supply side are still generation 1.0. So when you're talking about interoperability, I think when we're talking about capacity building, it has to be more on the supply side than on the demand side, because in terms of readiness or digital usage maturity curve, the demand side, which are the students, are already much ahead than the supply side. So if you want, our education systems or ecosystem to be relevant, I think the supply side will have to become compatible with the demand side rather than the other way around.
Sure. I would like to conclude the session by inviting our learned chairs, Dr. Gautam and Dr. Dutt, to share their thoughts in few minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurav. A very good afternoon to all of you. It is a really learning for me that as we are aware that this digital infrastructure, especially in education, is now new normal. And I would like to say it is a phenomenal breakthrough. So, the digitally equipped, now we are talking about the digitally equipped society. And also the, knowledge economy. So when we are reaching to that stage, now hearing to all my learned panelists, so finally we come into conclusion that whatever we are talking about the blended ecosystem, whatever the infrastructure we have developed, this has to make best use, and we have to talk about the always the training of the faculty and training of the student. This I am really impressed with the issues which flagged by our Dr. Balkrishna. He has discussed a very fundamental issue that we have to develop the common course curriculum across the world to make future leader. So this is also a very important issue he has flagged, and this effective use of infrastructure related to this digital ecosystem is also very important. And I am really convinced with the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the sensitization of the leadership and capacity building of teacher and students is also very important. And now we have to fix the goal first about the level. Then we have to decide the requirement of the system, requirement then building the ecosystem, and followed by the capacity building of the goal is more important first before taking forward. And finally, this I think this challenge before us, this access to good quality material, which should be made available to all part of the society, making equitable. This is also a very issues we have to see while flagging the issues and challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Gautam.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas and Dr. Triveni already summarized the panelist views. So just I want to thanks to our organizer for calling me here as a co-chair. And I just want to share our opinion, our experiences about how that digital transformation in education sectors. I am just recalling about that COVID period. And I was Vice Chancellor of Badai University, and that time there is no classwork, no everywhere in house. At that time, they started for the online classes, and the student stay at rural area. They have faces a lot of problem for the connectivity. Even sometimes they are not able to charge their phone. See how then we discuss and we request to the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister and Education Minister of Uttar Pradesh government, and they immediately called to the all Vice Chancellor, online meeting of the all Vice Chancellor and registrars, and they want how you start. Then we can request them that you provide a huge budget for establishment of the infrastructure and laboratory, then capacity building of the teachers and students, and immediately they provide all these things. And what happened now? You see, everybody equipped with the technology, and all our students and all teachers, they are going for the digital transformations. Number one. Number two, just I wanted to give the example of the farmers. In 2007, we start Kisan Wide Advisory by Dr. Rajan Prasad about giving the example. That time we make a kind of survey in the Madhya Pradesh state, and each family having 2 to 3 mobiles. Then immediately we start Kisan Mobile Advisory Services, and we found nowadays 5.5 crores farmers are getting the information from the Kisan Mobile Advisory in a twice a week. See how this can, but I just expressed 2 things. First, for policymaker, the policymaker must be sensitized. Number 2, capacity building program of the stakeholders. And number 3, we must identify the gap of the technology, so that we can make a kind of research project for overcome that gaps. And last, technology adoptions. As I just saw one slide presented by they have make a 5 category of the adopters, innovators, early adopters, late adopters. So how can reach the masses of the population? So that is the importance. So I thanks to all our audience and our panelists and our especially Dr. Agarwal for giving me opportunity to share our view in the front of delegates. Thank you.
Sir, thank you so much. And with that,
Nothing from the audience, please. So, Shreya Sawant. So this is Shreya Sawant from College of Horticulture, Mulde, Dr. BSKKV, Dapoli, Maharashtra. Sir, I think we should proceed with an entrepreneurial instinct and student-centric approach, where we also focus on the other stakeholders, that are the teachers and the society, where we will contribute. And I think that we need to really have a dialogue on the creation of offline ecosystem that is going to be amalgamated with the online ecosystem for really developing the blended learning platform that we are thinking of for a developed nation like India. Developing nation like India, soon to be developed. Thank you, sir.
May I?
Yes, please.
Yes, I am Dr. S.N. Islam from ICRI, one of the organizers of this prestigious conference. All of us know that the importance of agriculture was well understood and well in time, right in 1950, where our forefathers say that nothing can wait other than agriculture. And in these 75 years of independence, we have seen that entire transformation, and now we are, as leaders in the food production, our contribution to the world food basket is significant. And our national agriculture research and education system is again the biggest in the world, and we are privileged to have that. And that privilege gives us the food security and nutrition security around. But other thing.
Apologies, I'm interrupting you.
Just a minute, please.
I
am coming to the point because the background is again important. So, other thing, this conference has been on blended learning ecosystem has been organized well in time, and the countries from many all over the world, many countries have participated, and I think the message will go to all other countries who have not yet participated. But still, since there are many countries deprived of nutritional food security because of their agriculture scenario, and they are not equally privileged like India, where the agriculture research and education system is such a big and such a good network that our country has established, not only in this country, but we have the collaboration with many other developing countries. They are contributing. But the message from this conference should go to the entire world that what is to be needed and what through this blended learning ecosystem the world can learn from us. And many such conferences needs to be organized, and what are the message and what are the inferences that we are going to draw here should be made globally,
so
that we can be benefited. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your thoughts. So with that, I thank all my fellow panelists and the chairs. Hand over back to our convener, Dr. Anshu. Thank you so much. Thanks to the audience also. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas, and thank you, our panelists. Now it's time to give a token of appreciation to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank each one of the panelists who have been here and contributed to a significant expertise and the innovations and insights to what digital transformation means and what does it can do for education sector. So now, not taking much time, I would just like to call upon our chairs to give a token of appreciation to our panelists. So, Dr. Udham Singh Gautam and Dr. Triveni Dutt, I would request you to please come. So the first panelist, we have our first panelist, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Thank you, sir. Mr. Warner Wuscher. Thank you, Mr. Warner Wuscher, for all the insights that you have shared with us. Mr. Vikas Kanungo. Mr. Vikas has been with us in this NAHEP project also, under which this ICBLE 2023 has been organized. Thank you, Mr. Vikas. I would request Mr. Gaurav Gupta. Thank you very much for being here with us on this panel. Our next panelist, Dr. Purna Gunasekhar. We are thankful to you. I would like to thank our panelist who has joined us online, Dr. Balakrishnan Prithviraj. Thank you very much for being here with us and getting involved in this deliberation and sharing with us the way forward that you think which is better for the digital transformation in education sector. Now I would request our DDG, Dr. R.C. Agrawal, to kindly come on stage and give a token of appreciation to our co-chairs. I would like to thank our DDG Agriculture Extension ICR, Dr. Udham Singh Autumn, to be the co-chair of this panel, and Dr. Triveni Dutt, Vice Chancellor and Director IVRI. Thank you, sir. Now I would request our rapporteurs, Dr. Sanchita and Madhu, to kindly come on stage and be here with us for a photograph.